6 things you did not know motorcycle insurance would cover. Motorbike insurance could cover you for damaged leathers and personal accident to pillion and liability. To be protected, you need to make sure you have the right policy, which means checking terms and conditions carefully. Here are 6 common extras you might want to consider. Whether you are relatively new to the motorcycle game or a seasoned rider, it's always worth making sure you have the right level of motorbike insurance. Depending on the bike you and how often you ride, you might have different requirements. Typical things that you might like to have covered include pillion cover for passengers, leathers and helmets insurance, breakdown cover, legal expense cover, personal accident insurance, insurance for riding abroad. Some of these might be legal requirements in certain situations, so it's important that you check whether you need them. For instance, if you carry a passenger, then you need to have pillion cover. For each of these add-ons, you might find that you had to pay extra to include them in your policy. However, some insurance could offer to provide you with complimentary extra when you take out a policy with them, so it's well worth shopping around. Here we explain each of the 6 most popular optional add-on policies, include what they cover you for and typical limits. Check with your terms and conditions before paying for your coherence extra, just in case they are already covered as standard by your motorbike insurance. Pillion cover for passengers. If you regularly carry a passenger on your motorcycle, then it's important to have pillion cover in a place for them. Without it, your cover could be void and you could be held personally liable if your passenger is injured. Pillion cover is offered by most motorbike insurers and means your passenger effectively have a similar level of cover to you. The passenger can't make a claim on any damage to the bike, but they could make a claim against an injury received in an accident. Pillion passenger usually have the same right to claim as the main policy holder and could claim up to the policy limits for damage and injuries. Pillion cover might be included as standard under your motorbike insurance, but if it is not, most insurers might offer it for an extra cost. If you want to make sure your pillion cover is valid, there are specific steps to take. Before you head out on a ride with your passenger, ensure they have appropriate clothing and protection. This includes a helmet that meets UK safety standards. The bike needs to be designed for passenger with a seat and footrest, and they have to sit facing forward at all times. Remember, you need a full motorbike license to legally carry a passenger. provisional license holders are not allowed to carry passengers under any pillion. Passengers are treated differently to car passenger because they could have a significant impact on how the bike is handled. Passengers on a motorbike could contribute to drive distraction, longer braking distance, as well as a greater risk of injuries of accidents. Motorcycle leathers and helmet insurance. Motorcycle equipment including leathers and helmets could cost a lot, so if you might want to make sure they are covered on your policy in case they get damaged in an accident. Motorbike insurance does not always include helmets and leathers cover or as standard, but you might be able to buy it as an optional extra. If you buy helmets and leathers cover, it should also cover your boots, gloves, and any other protective gear that you use when riding. Okay, if you are involved in an accident, you should be covered for replacement gear up to the value agreed when you took out your policy. The cost of the policy might depend on how much you are willing to pay and what level of cover you have. You need to add up the cost of all your protective clothing, including your helmet, to decide what limits work for you. Whatever you decide, you should shop around to get the best price. While damaged riding equipment should be easily replaced with this kind of cover, clothing that's stolen might not necessarily be covered. It's important to check if this is the case before you take out additional cover. It's also worth noting that theft of motorbike gear might be covered with your home contents insurance policy, which could give an additional safety net. However, this usually a home insurance access to pay, and making a claim could affect any no claims bonus you have on your home insurance. Compare motorbike insurance quotes. Motorcycle breakdown cover. Lots of car owners have breakdown cover to risk them if they are stranded at the roadside. Unsurprisingly, it makes sense to have a similar service if you ride a motorcycle. In fact, breaking down on a motorbike could be much worse than when in a car because you get none of the advantages of shelter from the weather or a spare tire. For that matter, there are typically 5 levels of motorcycle breakdown cover, which range from entry level roadside assistance to an hour journey cover. The latter helps with transport or accommodation while your bike is being repaired. When choosing your cover, make sure you look out for any exclusions. Common one includes road accidents. If your bike is damaged because of a traffic accident, your breakdown assistance might not be able to reach you. Private land. If you break on private land, your assistance might be allowed onto the property. Poor maintenance. Your breaking down cover provide might expect you to take care of your bike and keep it good shape. If you fail to do this, you might not cover. Breakdown cover is not usually included in your bike insurance as is standard, but most providers tend to offer it as a paid extra. Motorcycle legal expenses cover. While motorcycle insurance should cover you for third party liability, you might not be covered for your legal costs. Legal expense cover, also known as motor legal protection or motorbike liability insurance, could help with this. Examples of where this can be used included: if you are involved in an accident that was not your fault, okay, losses from an accident where the other party is found to be uninsured, Com- compensation if you are injured, access you might have paid for motorbike insurance policy, any other legal advice you require. Legal protection insurance offer you an added level of protection, but some policies might include a clause that says the insurer can refuse funding. This would be if the cost of the legal proceedings is disproportionate to the amount of money you had to recover. Generally, legal expense cover is not included as standard in motorbike insurance policies, but you might be able to buy it as an add-on. If not, there are specialized policies available. Motorcycle personal accident insurance. Personal accident insurance is an optional add-on that should cover you for injuries that occur when you are involved in a motorbike accident. Insurers usually put a maximum limit on the amount that you can be paid, which typically between €15,000 and €20,000. If you have a comprehensive motorbike insurance policy, then you should be covered for some personal injury. Check with your insurance provider or read through your terms and conditions carefully before you consider paying for this kind of add-on. If you only have third party insurance, you won't normally be covered against personal injury. So you might want to consider adding personal accident cover or upgrading your policy. Usually, you will pay an annual fee rather than a monthly charge. The types of injuries that are covered vary from provider to provider, but you can check for exclusion. Most policies tend to cover fatalities. Not all injuries offer personal accident cover, so you might have to shop around to find a policy that works for you. Motorcycle insurance for riding abroad. Whether you are riding through Europe or taking your bike even farther afield, it's important to make sure you are protected in case something happens when you are overseas. Basics: EU cover tends to be included in UK policies, but you might not be insured to the same level that you are here in the UK. For instance, you might have comprehensive cover here, but you had only get third party insurance on the same policy in Europe. If you want to have the same level of cover that you enjoy in the UK, you might need to buy abroad covers as an optional extra. Costs for this might vary, and it depends on how often you are traveling, where are you going, and how long you plan to be overseas. You might be able to get cover for riding abroad from your current insurer. Okay. Otherwise, you could not go to a specialized provider depending on what you are planning to go and where you want to go. You all also need to organize transporting your bike using a freighting service. You might a Carnet deep passage and internationally recognized document that allows your bike to be imported duty free. Depending on the country, you might also need to put a UK sticker on your bike. With all of these factors, it could end becoming expensive and time consuming. Potentially, a more cost effective solution could be to hire a motorbike in the country you're visiting. You could then take out a travel insurance policy that covers you for riding abroad. Of course, this means riding a bike that is not yours, which might not be your cup of tea, but it is worth up your option to see what works for you. What does motorcycle insurance cover? The next extent of coverage provided by motorcycle insurance can vary from policy to policy, and it is typically unique to the insured. Each state individually sets requirements for the minimum coverage motorcycles are required to carry. Some common type of insurance coverage included liability insurance. Liability insurance covers costs related and damage resulting from an accident that the insured driver caused. Damage may include the costs of any accident related injuries or property damage caused by the accident. Personally injury protection PIP. PIP insurance helps cover immediate costs if you are injured in a motorcycle accident. Coverage may extend to medical expense and lost wage if your injuries cause you to miss time for work. Okay. Comprehensive insurance coverage extends to any damage the bike may incur while you are not operating it. For example, theft, fire, vandalism, or other similar occurrences are commonly included in comprehensive motorcycle insurance policies. Collisions insurance. Collision insurance is as essentially just what is it says it is. It covers damage from collisions with other vehicles and objects. Under insured motorcycle coverage. These forms of insurance are unique. They act as a sort of backup protection when other drivers in a collision are individually. Okay, similar to automobile insurance policies, motorcycle can choose from a variety of additional coverage options to include in their policies. However, insurance coverage option unique motorcycle insurance included. Thank you so much. 6 things you did not know motorcycle insurance would cover. Motorbike insurance could cover you for damaged leathers and personal accident to pillion and liability. To be protected, you need to make sure you have the right policy, which means checking terms and conditions carefully. Here are 6 common extras you might want to consider. Whether you are relatively new to the motorcycle game or a seasoned rider, it's always worth making sure you have the right level of motorbike insurance. Depending on the bike you and how often you ride, you might have different requirements.